Welcome back. I'm Pratap here. Today is 13th December 2024. In this video, I'm going to generate different supply demand zone reports useful to the premium subscribers. And this is your first visit to our channel. Please understand we are providing complete free training in supply demand zone price action. All the training lessons can be accessible from our channel. So I provided a link in this video description. So please access that link for our training course. There you have all the training lessons are available. I also provided our Telegram channel link also in this video description. Please join at our Telegram channel. It will be helpful to you. Now let's generate the stocks near demand and supply zones for different time frames, starting with half yearly time frame. Stocks near half yearly demand zone, no stocks are available. Half yearly time frame, stocks near half yearly supply zone, one stock is filtered. I'm giving you only few seconds time to watch the report. I request you pause the video, study the report. After that you can proceed further. In case if you does not understand how to study the report, I request you complete our training lesson 21.1. In that video, I have explained each and every column, values, abbreviations in detail. Okay, next time frame is quarterly. Stocks near quarterly demand zone. No stocks are available. Quarterly time frame. Stocks near quarterly supply zone. 6 stocks are filtered. Okay, next time frame is monthly. Stocks near monthly demand zone, 5 stocks are filtered. Next monthly time frame, stocks near monthly supply zone, 6 stocks are filtered. Next monthly time frame, price closed inside the monthly demand zone. This monthly demand zone should not be pierced. Pierced count at monthly time frame, I am setting minimum value 0. Maximum value 0. With this filter we got 15 stocks, and we can further filter with high probability parameter monthly EMA Confluence. So I am adding the EMA Confluence filter and monthly time frame, monthly demand zone having monthly EMA Confluence, and during EMA Confluence the trend should not be sideways on monthly time frame. So I am selecting trend up or down. Now I got 8 stocks. These 8 monthly demand zones are having monthly EMA Confluence, and current price is closed in the monthly demand zone. Okay, next monthly time frame. Price closed inside monthly supply zone. This supply zone should not be pierced. So in the pierced count monthly time frame I am setting zeros. Zone achievement, sorry. Now let's filter the stocks. We got 5 stocks. Price closed inside monthly supply zone. Let's check any of these stocks are having monthly EMA Confluence, the supply zones. In the EMA Confluence, monthly time frame, monthly supply zone having monthly EMA Confluence, and the trend based on zone violation at monthly time frame I am selecting up or down. One stock is filtered. The supply zone is having monthly EMA Confluence. Price also closed inside the monthly supply zone. Next time frame is weekly. Stocks near weekly demand zone, 7 stocks are filtered. Next weekly time frame, stocks near weekly supply zone, 9 stocks are filtered. Next weekly time frame, price closed inside the weekly demand zone, and this weekly demand zone should not be pierced. So pierced count weekly time frame minimum value 0, maximum value 0. That means pierced count is 0. That means zone is not pierced. We got 13 stocks. Price closed inside weekly demand zone. Out of these 13, how many are having weekly EMA Confluence? Let's filter based on that. In the EMA Confluence, weekly time frame, weekly demand zone having weekly EMA Confluence, and EMA Confluence should not be on sideways. So on trend we are selecting up or down trend. With these filters we got 6 stocks. In these 6 stocks, weekly demand zones are having weekly EMA Confluence, and also price closed inside the weekly demand zone. Okay, next, weekly time frame. Price closed inside the weekly supply zone, and these weekly supply zones should not be pierced. So pierced count, weekly time frame, I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. With this filter, we got a good number of stocks. I am scrolling the list down. So total 41 stocks are filtered where price closed inside weekly supply zone. Even NIFTY also closed inside weekly supply zone. Okay, out of these 41, how many of these weekly supply zones are having a weekly EMA Confluence? Let us filter based on that. So EMA Confluence, weekly time frame, weekly supply zone having weekly EMA Confluence filter is enabled, and the trend should not be sideways on weekly time frame. So I am selecting up or down trend. With these filters we got only 14 stocks. That means price closed inside weekly supply zone, and those supply zones are having weekly EMA Confluence. Okay, this is about price closed inside weekly supply zone. Next, weekly time frame. Because this is the end of the week, we will also find the weekly demand zones tested during this week. Good number of weekly demand zones are tested during this week. First 16 stocks. Total 19 stocks are filtered. That means these is 19 stocks having weekly demand zones are tested during this week. Okay, next, weekly time frame. The tested weekly supply zones. These 13 supply zones are tested during this week. Okay, next, newly created weekly zones. For weekly time frame, let us find the demand zones created during this week, the newly created weekly demand zones. So these 11 stocks are having newly created weekly demand zones. Next, we will filter newly created weekly supply zones for weekly time frame. Stocks having newly created weekly supply zones. 7 stocks are filtered. These 7 stocks are having newly created weekly supply zones. Okay, this is about newly created zones. Next, let us verify stocks weekly zones having a monthly EMA Confluence and also quarterly EMA Confluence. So weekly time frame. We don't want pierced weekly zones. So in the pierced count, weekly time frame, minimum value 0, maximum value 0. But this filter should be applied to weekly demand zones. And these weekly demand zones should have zone confluence, weekly demand zone with, first let us look for weekly demand zone with monthly demand zone, after that weekly, monthly and quarterly zone confluence. So in the demand zone confluence, weekly demand zone having confluence with monthly demand zone. We got a big list. First 17 stocks. Scrolling the list further. So total 57 stocks are filtered. Earlier we filtered only price closed inside the zone. Now we are not bothering about where price is closed. What we are seeing is zone confluence. Where price closed, you can look into the signal type, you can find them. Okay, out of these weekly, because they are part of the monthly, how many of these monthly zones are having monthly EMA confluence? Let's filter that also. EMA confluence and monthly time frame, monthly demand zones having monthly EMA confluence, and trend should not be sideways on monthly time frame. So selecting up or down trend. Now the list is further reduced. These are the 17 stocks. I am scrolling the list down. So total 25 stocks are filtered. Next, let us look for LTF and ITF and HTF confluence. That is a weekly, monthly and quarterly demand zone confluence. So I am removing this EMA filter. So in the demand zone confluence, 3 filters we should enable. First filter is already weekly demand zone with monthly. Next, weekly demand zone with quarterly demand zone confluence, and quarterly demand and monthly demand zone with quarterly demand zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, we got these are the first 16 stocks. I am scrolling the list down. So total 24 stocks are filtered. That means these weekly zones are part of the monthly, both together part of the quarterly zones. Let us check any of these stocks are having quarterly EMA confluence. So in the EMA confluence at quarterly time frame, quarterly demand zone having quarterly EMA confluence, trend should not be sideways on quarterly time frame. I am selecting up or down trend. With these filters, we got 13 stocks. That means weekly zone is part of the monthly zone, both together part of the quarterly zone. And the quarterly zone is having quarterly EMA confluence. These are demand zones. Okay, next weekly time frame, let us look for supply zone confluence. So weekly time frame, the supply zones, weekly supply zones first should not be pierced. So weekly time frame I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. That means weekly supply zone is not pierced. And these weekly supply zones should be having confluence with the monthly supply zone. Weekly supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence filter is enabled. With this filter we got a good number of stocks, very big list we got. First 15 stocks. I am scrolling the list down. So total 44 stocks are filtered. In all these 44 stocks, these weekly supply zones are part of the monthly supply zone. Now let's filter further because weekly is part of monthly. Monthly zone is having monthly EMA Confluence. So in the EMA Confluence monthly time frame, monthly supply zone having monthly EMA Confluence, and the trend on monthly should not be sideways. So I'm selecting up or down. Let's filter. We got 10 stocks. These 10 weekly zones are part of the monthly zone. That monthly zone is having monthly EMA Confluence. Monthly is ITF. Okay, next let us look for even quarterly zone confluence, weekly, monthly and quarterly. I am removing these EMA filters. Now in the supply zone confluence, I need to set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, that is weekly and monthly supply zone confluence. Next, weekly supply zone with quarterly supply zone confluence, and monthly supply zone with quarterly supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF, supply zone confluence, we got 10 stocks. In all these 10 stocks, these weekly supply zones are part of the monthly supply zone, both together again part of the quarterly supply zone. Quarterly is HTF. Let us verify any of these quarterly supply zones are having quarterly EMA confluence. So in the EMA confluence at quarterly time frame, quarterly supply zone having quarterly EMA confluence, and in the trend at quarterly time frame should not be sideways, it can be up or down. Let's filter. 2 stocks are filtered. These weekly supply zones part of the quarterly supply zone. So that means weekly is part of monthly, both together part of quarterly, and these those quarterly supply zones are having quarterly EMA confluence. So this is about weekly time frame. Next, daily time frame. Entry time frame daily. Let us find the stocks near daily demand zone. No stocks are filtered. That means we don't have any daily high liquidity zones from this list. Next, daily time frame. Stocks near daily supply zone. We got a big list. First 15 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So total 23 stocks are filtered where price closed. Price is near to the quarterly. Sorry for my mistake. Price is near to the daily supply zone. 23 stocks. Let us identify high liquidity daily supply zones. So Nifty 50 is having a high liquidity supply zone. Nifty reality, not in the indices, we can ignore. So next, Delhivari, high liquidity zone. Next, Laurus Labs, continuously it is coming. Next, L&T. NMDC is invalid because it is pierced. And the last one is Zydus Life. So total 5 high liquidity daily supply zones we identified from this list. Total 5. This is the first one. This is the second one. This is the third one. This is the fourth one. And this is the fifth one. So these are the daily high liquidity supply zones from this list. Okay. Next, for daily time frame, price closed inside the daily demand zones, and these daily demand zones should not be pierced. So in the pierced count, daily time frame, minimum value 0, maximum value 0. Let's filter. So currently no stocks are closed inside the daily demand zones. Okay. Next, for daily time frame, price closed inside the, sorry, did I made a mistake earlier? I have to look for inside the daily demand zone. Sorry for my mistake. Daily demand zone, inside the daily demand zone. Earlier I selected near demand zones. Inside the demand zones we have good number of stocks. First 16 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So total 18 stocks are filtered, where price closed inside the daily demand zone. Let us verify these daily demand zones are having any daily EMA confluence. In the EMA confluence at a daily time frame, daily demand zones are having daily EMA confluence, and this EMA confluence should be only in uptrending market, not sideways. So that's why in the trend, daily trend, I am selecting up or down, but not sideways. Let's filter. We got 7 stocks. These 7 daily demand zones are having daily EMA confluence, and price currently closed inside these zones. Okay. Next, daily time frame. Price closed inside the daily supply zone, and these supply zones should not be pierced. In the pierced count, daily time frame, minimum value 0, maximum value 0. With these filters, we got a good number of stocks. First 15 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So total 23 stocks are filtered where price closed inside the daily supply zone. Now let us verify out of these 23 how many of these supply zones are having daily EMA confluence. So in the EMA confluence at a daily time frame, daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence filter is enabled. Apart from that, this EMA should be valid only in the trending market, not in sideways. So that's why in the trend daily time frame, I am selecting up or down trend, but not sideways. Let's filter the stocks. We got 5 stocks. These 5 stocks are having daily supply zones having daily EMA confluence, and also price closed in the supply zones. So this is about daily time frame. Next time frame is 125 minutes. Stocks near 125 minutes demand zone. 3 stocks are filtered. Next 125 minutes time frame, stocks near 125 minutes supply zone. This is the filtered list. First 15 stocks. I am scrolling the list down. So total 20 stocks are filtered. Price closed inside daily supply zone. Sorry, price closed near 125 minutes supply zone. Sorry, making a lot of mistakes today. Okay, next time frame is 75 minutes. Stocks near 75 minutes demand zone. 6 stocks are filtered. Let's identify high liquidity zones from this list. Navin Fluorine is having a high liquidity zone. Supreme Industries is also having high liquidity 75 minutes demand zone. We identified 2 75 minutes demand zones from this list. Okay, next for 75 minutes time frame, let us find the stocks near 75 minutes supply zone. Let's filter. First 15 stocks in the list. I'm scrolling the list down. So total 18 stocks are filtered. So let us identify high liquidity 75 minute supply zones from this list. Nifty after also peers are not useful. Bank of Baroda is having a 75 minutes high liquidity supply zone. L&T is having a 75 minutes supply zone. L&T is also having daily, right? Next, LTF, L&T Finance is also having high liquidity supply zone. PFC is having high liquidity 75 minute supply zone. REC Limited is having. Tata Chemical is having high liquidity zone. Tata Steel is having high liquidity supply zone. So total 7 75 minutes high liquidity zones are available in this list. So these are the 75 minutes high liquidity supply zones from this list. Okay, next time frame is 25 minutes. Stocks near 25 minutes demand zone. 7 stocks are filtered. Next 25 minutes time frame, stocks near 25 minutes supply zone. 11 stocks are filtered. Next time frame is 15 minutes. Stocks near 15 minutes demand zone. 2 stocks are filtered. Let's identify any of these 2 stocks are having ITF demand zone confluence. That is 15 minutes with 75 minutes demand zone confluence. I am enabling the filter. So one stock is, this is a Navin Florin is having a ITF confluence. That means 15 minutes demand zone is part of the 75 minutes demand zone. Okay, next 15 minutes time frame. Stocks near 15 minutes supply zone. We got 8 stocks. Out of these 8, how many are having ITF confluence? That is 15 minutes supply zone with 75 minutes supply zone confluence. I am enabling that filter. With this filter, we got 6 stocks. Out of 6, any pierced zone? Yeah, 4th one is pierced. 2nd one is pierced. You have to ignore them. Okay, next time frame is 5 minutes. Stocks near 5 minutes demand zone. We got 9 stocks. Let's verify out of these 9 how many are having ITF confluence. That is 5 minutes demand zone with 15 minutes demand zone confluence. I am enabling the filter. We got 2 stocks. Okay, next for 5 minutes time frame, stocks near 5 minutes supply zone. We got 8 stocks. Out of these 8 stocks, how many of these supply zones are having ITF confluence? Let's find. 5 minute supply zone with 15 minute supply zone confluence. I am enabling the filter. And we got 5 stocks. So this is about stocks near demand and supply zones. Next, let us identify Let us generate Nifty and Bank Nifty supply demand zone chain. Let's start with Nifty. Starting with the monthly time frame, generating monthly supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Always look into the zone column to find high liquidity zones. Look into the pierced column to find any pierced zones. Always look into the LTF trend to find the trend of the current time frame you have selected. Apply these rules for the remaining supply demand zone chain reports. Okay, next, weekly supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Next, daily supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Next, 125-minute supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Next, 75-minute supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Next, 25-minute supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Next, 15-minute supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Okay, next, 5-minute supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Okay, if you want more demand zones, I'm scrolling the list down. So this is about Nifty supply demand zone chain. Next, Bank Nifty supply demand zone chain. Changing the name to Nifty Bank, that is nothing but Bank Nifty. So monthly supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, weekly supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, daily supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 125 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 75 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 25 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 15 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Okay, next, 5 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. So this is about a Bank Nifty supply demand zone chain. So the next set of reports are about bullish and bearish trade setups for monthly, weekly and daily income trades. First, let's start with monthly income trade bullish trade setup. Entry time frame daily, entry zone demand zone, bullish or bearish trade setup at daily. I am selecting bullish. These daily demand zones should not be pierced. So I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0 in daily time frame. Zone achievement violated opposing zone. Minimum odd enhancer score 12. All three filters are applied to daily demand zone. With these filters, we got 21 stocks. First 19 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So all these 21 stocks are supporting bullish trade setup for monthly income trade. Entry zones are daily demand zones. So in all these 21 daily demand zones, there could be some high probability supported demand zones might be available. We need to filter them. First filter is based on LTF and ITF demand zone confluence. That is nothing but daily and weekly demand zone confluence. So I am enabling the filter daily demand zone with weekly demand zone confluence. With this filter, out of 21 stocks, we got 15 stocks. In these 15 stocks, these daily demand zones are part of the weekly demand zones. And the weekly trend is up in all the stocks. Weekly means ITF. ITF trend is up. So let us further filter the stocks based on the high probability. To find the high probability, let us look for EMA Confluence. Because daily is part of weekly, let us look for weekly EMA Confluence for weekly zones. In the EMA Confluence at a weekly time frame, weekly demand zone having weekly EMA Confluence filter is enabled. With this filter, we got 8 stocks. So these 8 stocks are more high probability trade setup supported zones, because all these daily demand zones are part of the weekly demand zone. That weekly demand zone is having weekly EMA Confluence, and also weekly trend is uptrend in all these stocks. Okay, next let us look for high probability trade setup stocks based on LTF, ITF and HTF demand zone confluence. I am removing this EMA filter. In the demand zone confluence, 3 filters we have to set. First filter is already enabled, daily with weekly. Next, daily demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence, and weekly demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF, demand zone confluence, we got only 2 stocks. In these 2 stocks, the daily demand zone is part of the weekly demand zone, both together again part of the monthly demand zone. And the monthly trend is up in both the stocks. Let us look for monthly EMA Confluence for monthly zone to find even more high probability trade setup zones. In the EMA Confluence at monthly time frame, monthly demand zone having monthly EMA Confluence filter is enabled. No stocks are having. Okay, this is about bullish trade setup for monthly income trade. Next, bearish trade setup for monthly income trade. Entry time frame daily, entry zone supply zone, bullish or bearish trade setup at daily. I am selecting bearish, and these daily supply zones should not be pierced. So in the pierced count at daily time frame, minimum value 0, maximum value 0. Zone achievement violated opposing zone, minimum odd enhancer score 12, and all the 3 filters are applied to daily supply zone. Let's filter the stocks. We got 4 stocks. Currently these 4 stocks are supporting bearish trade setup for monthly income trade. Entry zones are daily supply zones. In these 4 daily supply zones, let us look for high probability supported zones. First filter is based on LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. Let's verify. In the supply zone confluence, daily supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence filter is enabled. With this filter, out of 4 stocks, we got all the 4 stocks. That means in all these 4 stocks, the daily supply zones are part of the weekly supply zone. Okay, now further we can filter these stocks high probability setup based on weekly supply zone with weekly EMA confluence, because the daily zone is part of weekly zone. Weekly trend is down, and if the weekly supply zone is having weekly EMA confluence, there could be even more high probability trade setup supported stock. So with this filter, we got 2 stocks. So these 2 are even more high probability trade setup, monthly income trade supported stocks based on LTF, ITF and weekly is having weekly EMA confluence. Next, let us look for LTF, ITF, HTF supply zone confluence. I am removing EMA filter. In the supply zone confluence, we need to set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, daily with weekly supply zone confluence. Next, daily supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence. Weekly supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF supply zone confluence, we got one stock. Okay, now let's verify this supply zone is having a HTF EMA confluence. That means monthly EMA confluence. Because the daily zone is part of the weekly, both together part of monthly. If the monthly trend is down and monthly zone is having monthly EMA confluence, it is even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. So monthly supply zone with monthly EMA confluence filter, we got the stock. That means this is even more high probability trade setup supported MIT trade setup, bearish trade setup stock. So this is about bearish trade setup for monthly income trade. Next, weekly income trade, bullish trade setup, entry time frame 75 minutes, entry zone, demand zone, bullish or bearish trade setup at 75 minutes. I am selecting bullish. This 75 minutes demand zone should not be pierced. So at 75 minutes time frame, minimum value 0, maximum value 0, zone achievement violated, opposing zone, minimum order enhancer score 12. All 3 filters are applied to 75 minutes demand zone. We got 14 stocks. These 14 stocks are supporting bullish trade setup for weekly income trade. The entry zones are 75 minutes demand zones. In all these 14 75 minutes demand zones, there could be some high probability trade setup zones might be available. We need to filter them. The first filter is based on LTF and ITF demand zone confluence. That is 75 minutes and daily demand zone confluence. I am enabling that filter. 75 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone confluence. With this filter, we got 11 stocks. In all these 11 stocks, the 75 minutes demand zones are part of the daily demand zone. And the daily trend is up in all these stocks. Because 75 minutes demand zone is part of the daily demand zone and the daily demand zone is having daily EMA confluence, they are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks as per the concepts learned in lesson 27. So in the EMA confluence, at a daily time frame, because 75 minutes entry demand zone is part of the daily demand zone. So daily demand zone having daily EMA confluence filter is enabled. So with this filter, we got 6 stocks. So these 6 stocks are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Because these 75 minutes demand zones are part of the daily demand zone, and the daily demand zone is having daily EMA confluence and also daily trend is up. ITF means daily. Okay. Next, we can filter based on LTF, ITF and HTF demand zone confluence. Next filter. I am removing EMA filter. So in the demand zone confluence, 3 filters we have to set. First filter is already enabled, 75 with daily. Next, 75 minutes demand zone with weekly demand zone confluence. Daily demand zone with weekly demand zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence, we got 6 stocks. In these 6 stocks, these 75 minutes demand zones are part of the daily demand zone, both together again part of the weekly demand zone. And weekly trend is up in 4 stocks. If those 4 stocks are having weekly EMA confluence, they are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Let us verify. In the weekly time frame, in the EMA confluence, weekly time frame, weekly demand zone having weekly EMA confluence and also trend on weekly time frame should be uptrend but not sideways because it is bullish trade setup. We got 2 stocks. So these 2 are even more high probability trade setup supported demand zones. Okay, this is about bullish trade setup, weekly income trade. Next, bearish trade setup, weekly income trade. Entry time frame 75 minutes. Entry zone, supply zone. Bullish or bearish trade setup at 75 minutes. I am selecting bearish. These 75 minute supply zone should not be pierced. So in the pierced count at 75 minutes time frame, minimum value 0, maximum value 0. Zone achievement violated opposing zone. Minimum odd enhancer score 12. All 3 filters are applied to 75 minute supply zone. Now let's filter the stocks. We got 9 stocks. So in these 9 stocks, these supply zones are supporting bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. Entry time frame zones are 75 minute supply zones. All these are all 75 minute supply zones supporting bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. Out of these 9 75 minute supply zones, there could be some high probability setup supported zones might be available. We need to filter them. The first filter is based on LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. That is 75 minutes with daily supply zone confluence. I am enabling the filter. 75 minute supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. We got all 7 stocks. So in these 7 stocks, these 75 minute supply zones are part of the daily supply zone, and daily trend is down in all these stocks because it is bearish trade setup. And if these daily demand zones, these daily supply zones are having daily EMA confluence, they are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence at a daily time frame, why daily? Because 75 minute supply zone is part of the daily supply zone and daily trend is down. That's why daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence filter, we got 3 stocks. These 3 are even more high probability trade setup supported 75 minute supply zone supporting weekly income trade, bearish trade setup. This is based on LTF and ITF confluence and EMA confluence. Next, let us look for LTF, ITF and HTF supply zone confluence. I have to remove EMA filter. In the supply zone confluence, we need to set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, that is 75 minutes with daily. Next filter, 75 minute supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence. Next, daily supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF, supply zone confluence, we got 3 stocks. In these 3 stocks, these 75 minute supply zones are part of the daily supply zones. Both together again part of the weekly supply zone. And weekly trend is down for 2 stocks, but not the third one. So first 2 stocks, if any of them are having weekly EMA confluence, they are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Let us verify. In the EMA confluence weekly time frame, weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence, the trend at weekly time frame should not be sideways. So it should be downtrend. We got both the zones. So this is about bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. These entry zones are 75 minute supply zones. Okay, the next set of reports are about daily income trades. Daily income trade bullish trade setup, entry time frame 15 minutes, entry zone demand zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at 15 minutes, I am selecting bullish. These 15 minutes demand zones should not be pierced. So in the pierced count, 15 minutes time frame, minimum value I am setting 0, maximum value setting 0. Zone achievement violated opposing zone, minimum odd enhancer score 12. All 3 filters are applied to 15 minutes demand zone. We got 8 stocks. These 8 stocks are supporting bullish trade setup for daily income trade. Entry zones are these 15 minutes demand zones. All these are all 15 minutes demand zones. Out of these 8 15 minutes demand zones, there could be some high probability setup supported demand zones might be available. We need to filter them. The first filter is based on LTF and ITF demand zone confluence. That is 15 minutes demand zone with 75 minutes demand zone confluence. I am enabling that filter. So with this filter, we got 4 stocks. In these 4 stocks, these 15 minutes demand zones are part of the 75 minutes demand zone. And 75 minutes trend is up in all these stocks. If any of these 75 minutes demand zones are having daily EMA confluence, they are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Let us verify. In the EMA confluence at 75 minutes time frame, 75 minutes demand zone with daily EMA confluence, because the entry time frame 15 minutes demand zones are part of the 75 minutes demand zone. Now let's filter. We got 1 stock. So this demand zone is even more high probability trade setup supported demand zone. Okay. Next, let us look for LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence. I am removing EMA filter. So in the demand zone confluence, we need to set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled. Next, 15 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone confluence. 75 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF and HTF demand zone confluence, we got 1 stock. Anyway, this is already identified as a high probability trade setup, but the daily trend is sideways. No need to look for EMA confluence. Okay. So this is about bullish trade setup for daily income trade. Next, bearish trade setup for daily income trade. Entry time frame 15 minutes. Entry zone supply zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at 15 minutes, I am selecting bearish. The 15 minute supply zone should not be pierced. So in the pierced count at 15 minutes time frame, I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. Zone achievement violated opposing zone. Minimum order enhancer score 12. All 3 filters applied to 15 minute supply zone. With these filters, we got 14 stocks. All these 14 stocks are supporting bearish trade setup for daily income trade. And entry zones are 15 minute supply zones. In all these 14 stocks, these 15 minute supply zones might be having some high probability trade setup zones might be available. We need to filter them. The first filter is based on LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. Let's filter that. That is a 15 minute supply zone with 75 minute supply zone confluence. I am enabling that filter. So with this filter, we got 14 stocks. That means in all these 14 stocks, these 15 minute supply zones are part of the 75 minute supply zone. And 75 minutes trend is down in all these stocks. That is ITF trend. So that's why if the 75 minute supply zone is having daily EMA confluence, they are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Let us verify. In the EMA confluence at 75 minutes time frame. Why 75 minutes? Because 15 minute supply zone, this is the entry zone, is part of this 75 minute zone. That's why we are looking for 75 minute supply zone with daily EMA confluence. We got 3 stocks. So these 3 are more high probability trade setup supported stocks. And moreover, all these supply zones are high liquidity zones. These 15 minute supply zones. Okay, this is about this is based on LTF and ITF and EMA confluence. Next, let us look for LTF, ITF and HTF supply zone confluence. I am removing EMA filter. In the supply zone confluence, 3 filters we have to set. First filter is already enabled. Second filter, 15-minute supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. Third filter, 75-minute supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. With all the three filters, LTF, ITF and HTF supply zone confluence, we got 4 stocks. In these 4 stocks, the 15-minute supply zone is part of the 75-minute supply zone. Both together again part of the daily supply zone. In all the 4 stocks, daily trend is sideways. So there is no use if you filter for EMA Confluence, because daily EMA Confluence doesn't make any sense in sideways trend. It could be in uptrend or downtrend. Okay, this is about bearish trade setup for daily income trade. And in the final report, let us generate stop buffers based on daily ATR. First 17 in this list are indices, remaining all are equity stocks. I am scrolling the list down. Whichever the stock you want to refer, there please pause the video and then you can proceed further. Okay, I am scrolling the list down. So this is the end of the report. Hope this information will be useful to you. Let's all meet again in our next video. Thank you.